Okay, I see. It's counting down. Oh, then I lost the count. Okay, Miss Kim, just tell me go.
Hello, hello, hellos. We are live and welcome to the Happiness Tribe. Miss Kim, your usual Happiness Tribe Sunday hosts with a very, very exciting topic for today. And I'm just going to pass the mic. Somebody stole my dress. This is not allowed.
Go back get your dress.
There's only one dress.
It's counting down. Oh, then I lost.
Only one
Yours is
dress.
yours is green.
Oh
The
my
designer
gosh.
designed one. Shouldn't be.
You need to speak to your designer. Apparently, that's not completely true.
So, yeah, a very happy Sunday. You're welcome. Join us, our listeners. Please tell us where you're joining us from. I saw Leslie Flower earlier saying she's going to be listening with her friend as they do the morning coffee. So, you're welcome, Leslie, and a big hello to your friend. And please tell us, you're joining us, whichever part of the world you are in, which village, which city, which country. Bring your views, bring your suggestions, comment. It's a very, very exciting topic. And I'm just going to give the mic to Miss Paula to introduce the topic as she ushers in our other guests. My name is Miss Kim, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Miss Kim. Thank you so much. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And welcome to today's conversation. My name is Paula, and I'm joining you from the beautiful country of Belize in Central America as a proud member of the tribe. We're a community deeply committed to cultivating well being, clarity, and purpose in both life and in work. Now, today's panel is titled The Silent Killer of Your Income, Focus Lost, Money Lost. And I'll start with a simple truth that might surprise most of you. The average professional loses up to 60%. Did you hear that? 60% of their workday to what researchers call work about work, distractions, interruptions, and context switching that keep busy but not productive. Today, the conversation is about unfolding all of this, about excavating this and what does this look like and how does it show up in our lives, especially in our professional life. Whether you're a business owner or a worker, this affects of us. That adds to 1,000 hours of every year. And for entrepreneurs and professionals alike, that's money literally slipping through your fingers, going out the window. Even small losses are costly. Studies show that every time we're interrupted, it takes nearly 23 minutes to fully refocus. Did you hear that, folks? It takes 23 minutes to fully refocus, interrupted with a task that you're working on. Multiply that across a day, a week, year. You begin to see how what feels like just a quick distraction quietly erodes our potential income, our creativity, and our peace of mind. That's why today's discussion matters. We've brought together
Is it just me, Miss Grace? Can you hear Miss
Yeah,
Paula?
I hear you. No, I don't hear Miss Paula, nor do I see Miss Kim. So I wasn't sure where that is. I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, Miss Paula is frozen. I don't know. It's the same for you, Miss Kim.
I can't hear Miss Paula.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's
Okay. Let's hope she'll get back shortly. And she's doing such an amazing job. In the
Yeah,
meantime, you can introduce yourselves, ladies.
go for it, Yodit.
okay. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon for those of you joining us from this part of the world. And this part of the world is Gaborone, Botswana. We're located in southern Africa. And it's beginning to get warmer, although we're still a little bit confused because it's cold in the house, but it's warm, it's hot outside. And yes, looking forward to this conversation this afternoon about, this silent killer, that which we all do, but don't appreciate how much it actually costs us. Thank you. Over to you, Miss Grace.
Yeah. Um, I am very excited about this topic as well. My name is Tsika Tesfai. You guys know me as Grace. I am very happy to be here and also a proud member of the Happiness Tribe, THT. I do love how Miss Paula got us started with receipts, as I like to call them, really like understanding the actual effects and having some tangible meaning to what we are about to discuss and how that actually has an effect. I love that she actually spoke a lot about the workplace as well, which I kind of focus a lot on. Um, yeah, so I'm excited about this topic. I'm ready to dive into it.
Yeah, I think, when she mentioned the amount of time that you lose every single day, it's actually quite frightening. But then reflecting back on when I was, employed, you actually know that you're losing a lot of time during the day. So if it's not folks interrupting you, whether it's the telephone calls or somebody stopping by or the endless meetings, by the time you get to 5:30 and you're like, my goodness, it's the end of the day. What have I actually done? I remember there were days when I was literally very frightened because I'd done very, very little the whole day, but I was at work, working for solid 8, 9 hours, and yet still feeling, I haven't done anything today. I haven't been able to tick those boxes that you like to tick, Miss Grace. So it's a
Mhm.
difficult. Now I can imagine as an entrepreneur, and especially if you're a one woman show or one man show, how almost impossible it becomes to get things done because you are frequently interrupted. Um, and if you're juggling multiple things, you're a mother trying to take care of children, you're also trying to run your business, and then you've got other things happening. And in the African context, family always takes precedence. So if you get an urgent call from somebody to help, please help us with so and so, you pretty much have to drop everything. So today's session, I think part of what we're trying to do today is to see what is it that we can do for ourselves to help us through this. How do we prevent the loss of time? Because what it inevitably means then is the loss of income, the loss of
Mhm.
business. And actually, in the process, you lose quite a lot of other things as well. So, just thought I'd mention that. I think Miss Paula said, 20, is it 23 minutes every
Yeah,
day? That,
yeah, a little
yeah,
bit over 20 minutes. Yeah, you know,
yeah.
if I may just add to that, a big conversation right now is after COVID, people going back to work, right, from working remotely. And there are two different type of distractions. One of the distractions is what you were just addressing, your date with family and working from home and so on, right? But then you hear also a lot of folks saying, I am so much more productive when I work from home, and I work through my lunches. I work late. There is no real like boundaries on my time when it comes down to work. I actually give more time to my job if I work from home. And then you have the other side, which is totally distracted and it doesn't work for them. And then, of course, there's another side to it, which is kind of like psychological and, mindset where, they just need that social life with their coworkers interaction. So, and then when we are at our job, when we are actually in the office, there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of distraction, you leave a meeting, it takes you another 10 minutes to get to your desk at least, or you get stopped here and there. Um, there are so many different aspects of distractions when you are actually also at your job. So I wonder, and I think there's a whole conversation about it, and you can read so many different versions and pros and cons, but also like one of them would be defending the side of working from home, which then they present you with their receipts, and then you have the one that say no, working from an office is way more productive, and they present you with their receipts in return as well. So I think it's an individual way of kind of really taken stack of what works for you, and where can you really provide your own results in your own way of navigating your time and setting your own boundaries, whether it's on the office or at home or whatnot.
And actually, you make me just get to question if we think. I wonder what the statistics are saying on did we improve productivity when we started this thing of working from home? Has AI enhanced productivity? Of course, I have a big take on that, which I know I'm going to be opening a can of worms. But just, Grace, to get you back to your topic, I think you had seen from the notes we made for us to be very concise and make sure that we cover this topic and educate people. And especially you coming from HR background, where you used to managing people, and also working in the first world where time is of essence, which obviously to us, we look at time in a very different way.
Yeah.
And even our 8 to 5, when I think about how much time, especially with meetings, with bureaucracy, we can waste, it actually just makes me think that I think we're very wealthy, that we still get by. We strictly work 8 to 5. We have, I don't think we go for a month without just taking unnecessary off days. And there are days that we could just decide it's too cold today. Can I just not go to work? Like, it's never that serious. A lot of us don't work on Saturdays and Sundays. It's very true, Miss Yodit. And I've seen it, for me, most of my work life, before things happened, like economically, we got to where we are, my working days were ending on Friday lunchtime. Doesn't mean that I won't, that would be casually. So officially, office work ends Friday lunchtime, and staff goes home, and we meet on Monday. And there's merit to it because I still feel work-life balance, whatever. I mean, some people call it a myth. Some people don't believe in it. But then again, some of these things depends on where you are at in your life and the goals and you need to fulfill. So as we get Miss Paula to warm up, Miss Grace, let's the question. So we seem to have a lot of distractions. That some of them are. I hear the echo. Please mute. Sometimes we can call it attention fatigue because there's just so much. Can you explain what actually happens in our minds when focus sleeps? Because sometimes we tend to assume it's we don't draw the line on, sometimes we'll be pushing it and we can't even focus. We are tired. And that is why I see like Japan, I don't know which other country has introduced those things of you work less hours. Some countries, they have bench for sleeping. Like you can take a nap. It's legal to take a nap. You're tired, you can't focus. So please tell us from your world, how do we relate to that? And how does that affect productivity? Well, Ms. Paula?
Welcome, Ms. Paula. I don't know if that's necessarily in my scope of work per se, but I do appreciate the fact. In fact, this reminds me. Last night we had our executive meeting with our people in AI and leadership and stuff like that. And one thing that they mentioned is, among so many mind blown things, is about the relation between generative AI and our brain, and the way our brain has the memory. And I'm gonna try to say it as the best I know how to, but the memory and the images that we kind of constantly take in. So we analyze and label things all the time, and we take so much information in and store it actually in. I think it's 30,000 a day, 30,000 things that we memorize a day, I think it is. And out of that, I think it's only like 50 something that we use, which is kind of fraction, right? So I'm getting to the focus part, right? That you are addressing. This is something I cannot even call it learned, because I just heard it and I tried to retain it. And there was so much information to retain. So that was but that was so mind blowing to me to have that relation to as to how much we actually use of the things that we are exposed to. and to take back, lose focus is part of that, I believe, because and this is why I that kind of resonated with me, is because when we talking about focusing on something, it's taking all that information that we have on the back of our head and just focusing on some of it, right? um and our AI exec, I think, said like it was about 50 something percent of that 30,000 a day, right? Like, and don't quote me on those numbers, but it was something to that nature. I'm saying this to say, how do we refine what we are focusing on? How do we say, this is what I'm going to focus on? And to his explanation is the weight that we put in, and that weight again is surrounded among many other factors, which is whether it's our emotions, our experiences, our environment, relation to the subject, so much more, right? So how much weight are we putting on that? So I think what helps us focus is shifting that weight to what we need to actually focus on. And I know this may sound a little bit off, but that's just kind of how it, related and tied to me in my head. It just immediately started thinking about that. And I think for me moving forward, it's really to practice that, is to put weight on things that are really my priorities, my focus points, and really have that up front, in front of me, in the sense of like, in my front head, like, I really have it as my focus point, right? And focus on that and put all that weight on that, attach my emotions, attach my relations and everything else to that, probably. And it sounds a little bit technical. I hope I'm not throwing people off with my explanation here, and on something I just learned, but I thought that was very powerful to me, and I think this is so much aligned to what we are talking about today. I'm passing on.
Lots to learn. Lots to learn. And for me, this is what I see. So if we're not careful, especially with AI, generative AI, whatever it could be, it can be distractive. It can be it can make us lose focus. And especially some of us who constantly want to learn the new tool, the next tool. And sometimes do you even need that tool? Before you learn that tool, another one has been launched. Let me give the mic back to Miss Paula, who was doing the topic justice. We're just going through what each person was supposed to present on, but I know you are still doing the opening remarks to the.
Thank you so much, Miss Kim, and I need to apologize to the audience. In a developed nation, internet just no notification, just bye. So we got to come up with a way to communicate. But anyway, nonetheless, I sort of wanted to, I want to get back to the introduction, but I wanted to kind of clarify, I think, what Miss Grace was saying in terms of how we focus on things. There are lots of studies. I was surprised when we began to research this. There are lots of studies, Microsoft, Asana, Ideas, UCI, School of ICS, all of that. There's been a lot of research about this interruption and about the lack of focus. And a lot of it has to do with technology, and it has to do with really just work, talking about work. I have a story for you a little way down the line. But before we get to that, I'd like to get back to the introduction. So did they introduce themselves, Miss Kim, so I don't have to go back down that road?
Yes, ma'am. I did a very good job in your absence. I made sure they all came on stage and said who they are.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So let me just bring the audience back up just a little bit in terms of this research.
Miss Paula, did you get a chance to introduce yourself?
I did. I thought I did. Did I not? I thought I introduced
it was earlier, so
just okay. So if I didn't, for those of you who are just attending, haven't been here before, just coming, my name is Paula. My name is actually Marjorie Paula Norales. Call me Paula. And I'm a proud member of the Happiness Tribe. And so I'm excited to be here. Just hope that the internet doesn't go again, because this is such a rich topic. I found interesting when we were looking at some of the things that distract people. But if I may, can I just tell a quick story before we go any further to kind of point home? My corporate experience, in the corporate world for years, about 20 years. And one of the things that I had problem with at my last designation, if I may, was the fact that I was part of the executive team and I was overseeing infection control and prevention. When inside of that particular environment, we spent so much time speaking about plans that the actual work, I attended so many executives to just talk, that I ended up having to spend sometimes 16, 18 hours a day. In other words, my 8 hours that I was scheduled for were all about meetings and discussions about the work. Still had to do the work. I still had to produce. And this is, I believe, one of the largest in the corporate setting, and even as an entrepreneur, that times we discuss plans so much ad nauseam degree that no actual work or production is taking place. And there is actually an entire body of research about this about work burden. Repeated annual surveys find substantial time lost to coordination noise, meetings, status, duplicative work. And this is an ongoing research actually by Asana Anatomy of Work by the Asana company. And this is such a big deal. It just tripped me out how big this was. I thought I was the only one with the issue that sometimes we can meet so much. One of the things that I suggested was that we have one meeting, just consolidate one major meeting, maybe once every 2 weeks, so we can discuss and parse who's responsible for what and provide a written report. So we didn't have to meet that, which would allow me to complete my work. Because like I said, I was doing 16, sometimes to 18 hours a day. That's outside of my 8-hour work, or include my 8-hour work, but that's an additional 10 hours I had to perform. I still had to be responsible for all my responsibilities and to provide reports. So I could just imagine what this may be. There's something called context switching, drag, right? Context switching, drag is observed across orgs or organizations. Multiple workplace analysts report material productivity losses, dollar impacts from frequent switching or notification. Uses directional evidence alongside the peer review. This is actually a technical document. And context switching is really about, you have one thing to do, a boss interrupts you, or someone interrupts you, or you get a notification, seems to be important, and you get it. Now it's completely unrelated to the production piece that you're working, and now you have to switch. Imagine with social media and going on with internet and the digital communication, how crazy that can be. It says, they say interruptions change how we work. It does. People to compensate, which was stress and efforts without improving outcomes, i.e., you feel busier and more drained, but don't produce more. And then there's the attention residue, right? Even brief switches. These are the switches they're speaking. Email, chat, quick question, someone interrupting you leaves mental residue, appears performance on the next task until cleared. So there's a whole body of research that goes with this lack of focus and the things that takes our focus away from that which we're supposed to be producing. I'm going to stop here for just a quick second, and I'd like to pass the mic to my colleagues, the panel. I know a lot of us, Ms. Kim, you're a serial entrepreneur. She does a wonderful job. But I'm sure you've probably had challenges with one of the things that is discussed a lot, cell phones. People on their cell phone on work time and being distracted, and how it's impacting production. Have you had that experience, Ms. Kim? And if so, what was the experience and what did you do about it?
Thank you, Ms. Paula. So, obviously, within the team, within my staff, you have the work crews, so that is not a problem. Where I encounter problem is when you're running a workshop and you're dealing with senior, sometimes government of, and before you finish what you're explaining, everyone is on phone in person. So I step into the room first, like in a friendly way, you set the tone, and then you make more requests. For us to engage and learn, let's put our phones aside. So it becomes a no phone, because also sometimes you get people have the habit of taking notes on their phones. So you can't tell taking notes on your phone or are you paying attention? But still, when it comes to when you ask people in questions, you'll get to know who is listening, who is not. It also takes a lot of you have to change how you present and how you address people, because generally humans we can't focus anymore if you don't engage us, where obviously you present with asking questions, make people, when you try first get people's names. So if we happen to be in a session, maybe it's just a meeting, maybe I'm just presenting, maybe so you're going like she's selling, I don't need to pay attention, but I mention your name, you're gonna go like, what did I do? Because you are lost, you're not even with us. But then I'll say, Miss Paula, do you think this product will enhance productivity and also bring along something aligned to paying attention? When you set the ground rules and you make it part of the conversation, then you're able to engage and get people's attention. When also people feel like you're dropping gems and they might miss on what you're saying, they will want then to pay attention. But I think generally it's a struggle for a lot of us humans, including me. We're all work in progress.
Thank you so much, Miss Kim. I'm gonna focus this other question on both Sister Yodit and Miss. Have you ever been in a position in your corporate job or job setting where you had a deadline and it was a critical deadline, and the moment you started working on it, you figured you'd have this whole day to work on, and the day that you start working on it, there's calls, the boss wants something, someone's office, your phone's going off, the children haven't gotten picked up from school, there all this distraction. How do you navigate that? How do you navigate that so that you can still meet your production requirement? Sister Yodit, Dr. Yodit.
The pressure is just becoming a little bit too hectic, So now I'm going to start praying for a grant so that I can actually apply to school so that I can go ahead and do this doctorate that you all want me to do. But I receive. Thank you, Ms. Paula. It's a very difficult question, and as you were speaking about your experience in the corporate world, Miss Kim talking about telephones and how irritating they can be. I obviously started having flashbacks of some of those moments when I was also working in a setting that's very different from what Miss Kim explained earlier. So, what I remember of the corporate world is having insane hours, and I worked long hours, but I had colleagues who worked even longer hours who didn't knock off before 9 o'clock in the evening, having come into the office at 8. Fridays, for some, yes, was a half day. For most, Friday felt like a Monday. And many of my colleagues also worked on Saturdays, not to mention the evening. So, very hectic environment where there were so many expectations. So, deadlines were crazy, Miss Paula. And because you know the consequences of not meeting the deadline, there are certain drastic things that you would do. So, I worked in it was an open office setting where we sat next to each other. There were no walls that separated us. And if it was the kind of deadline that I could not ask for an extension, I would find a space where I could lock myself away, literally, and I would put my phone on silent. I would not look at my emails. I never got any alerts for WhatsApp. I tried to stay away from WhatsApp, which got me into trouble occasionally until the end of the day. But you'd have to be very rigid about that, and very blunt with colleagues who are looking for you and literally refuse to take any more calls, no firefighting, because you know that if you miss the deadline, the consequences would be dire. So that is what, and I believe most people that I worked with would do that. Obviously, post COVID, because we appreciate working from home, And I agreed with the comment you made, where we actually were more productive at home because your kids know to stay away from you, and you did not have the distractions of somebody stopping by your desk. You get a lot more work done. So, in some instances, it's actually opting to stay at home and saying, look, I need to finish this piece of work by this deadline. Therefore, you won't see me in the office until later on or tomorrow. So those were the options that were available to you, and you needed to be strict about it if you were serious about the work that you needed to produce, so that you're not dealing with the wrath that comes if you don't deliver on time. You really have to become very disciplined. And I suppose the same would be true as an entrepreneur. Actually, the stakes are even higher because you now have to ensure you ring fence your time, your space to deliver it is that you've agreed to deliver on time. Otherwise, it's a whole bunch of things at stake as an entrepreneur. Your reputation being one of the biggest things at stake, and where people will stop taking you seriously. So that's my experience, Miss Paula, being an employed person, and some of the things that I had to do to ensure that I met the deadlines that I agreed to meet. Miss Grace?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sister Yoda. Go ahead, Miss Grace.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to what Yerit was saying. It was, I think, for me, pretty similar to that. I would say, being in the talent acquisition when I was with the corporate world, in the corporate world, I had a lot of different managers who had hiring needs, right? So I may be hiring marketing for the marketing person, tech for the tech person, finance for the finance person, right? And then on top of that, we had our international crew. So different time zones, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then you have your meetings and your vendors and so on and so on. So it's all, I think, about prioritizing, and you find yourself quite a bit um, dealing with the ones that are on fire, so to say, right? If it's a
Right.
busy, if it's a busy and a high demand role, or also the company overall has, it's a fast growing and whatnot, you find yourself in that position. And I have to say, for me, working from home was way more productive than working from the office, just because, I get excited to see my coworkers. We went into the office in my last position about twice a week or so. I think it went from once a week to twice a week after COVID and things like that. However, making long story short, you get excited. You want to exchange, stories and catch up with each other, which is, I think very good also in regards to building those relationships with your coworkers. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about prioritizing. And whether you are at the office for me or in at home, long term, I think it's all going to depend on the individual, because I remember also writing a post on this on my LinkedIn page, where we had a lot of YouTubers and influencers, or just maybe also random folks going on social media, making fun of the fact that they're working from home, watching TV, not really attending to any meetings, doing other things while they're meetings, muting themselves and doing things, and just kind of, fooling the employer per se, or trying to get away with a lot of nonsense, right, while they are supposed to be working. And I think that gave a lot of hiring managers and folks that are actually hiring people pause, thinking like, okay, well, is that what they are doing? Are they, is this the person that would do that, is at the end of the day the question. you know if they know the how, hardworking and ethical Yodit is, I would not never doubt her working from home or from an office. But I think it's that they don't know us enough to figure that part out, or that they don't trust us is the problem, right? um, and then also the way we present ourselves as employees, whether we are going to be able to be ethical, be hardworking, deliver for the job that we are being paid for. Anyways, I think that's the main thing that I see in that. And for me, it's all about prioritizing, because whether I'm in the office or whether I'm working from home, I find myself always going extra, staying late, doing what I need to do to deliver at the end of the day, whether as an entrepreneur now or as a, you know, as a person in the corporate world working for my employer. Either way, I have to deliver. I'm being paid for a service. So, and that's, I think, best done and most effectively done through prioritizing. And that can be also a challenge, right? Which fire do you which fire do you go and take off at first? All right. Well, I'm going to leave it right there and pass the mic. Sorry, it's got
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Grace. Thank you. That's enlightening. And in fact, I was surprised when you said you're much more working from home, because statistical data has shown and people reported, I don't know if it was ongoing, that they were having a hard time being productive from home because for whatever reason they were being interrupted. There was a lack of focus. You know, women were complaining about in the room, and you know, wherever it was they were working from, they were being interrupted, and it was just all these interruptions, and they found that they were at work. It's very interesting to see. It'd be great to see a new survey to see how people are actually responding after a few years of remote work, if they're still having the same challenge. But let me move on to discussing what some research has suggested in terms of fighting this blocking off very specific. Microsoft had a report, and I concised it. I broke it down to like one sentence. It wasn't just a report; it was a number of organizations and research bodies that made the very same recommendation that Microsoft said. It says block focus time calendar, 90 to 120 minutes, and defend it. Tools that auto schedule focus, improve outcomes. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I have a very good friend of mine that's a Six Sigma, whatever, and he was into quality control. And when he told me, he said even at work, he had a scheduled. So even if you needed to speak to him, if the building wasn't burning down and something catastrophic wasn't happening, you could schedule a meeting with him. He literally blocked off his production time so that he didn't take calls, he didn't nothing unless it was an absolute emergency. And I thought, you're such a maniac. How you such a control freak at work? But now that we're looking at statistics and we're hearing it, I'm thinking that's actually a brilliant idea. He did such an excellent job with blocking off his time, and it improved his productivity level. And guess what? That's exactly what articles like this Microsoft articles was saying, that you block off your calendar, you know, and that you must defend it. You must hold one accountable. If it's your production, you're being held accountable for your time and the quality and the quantity of your production. So you need to guard that. So that's one of the recommendations that I think is really, really interesting. So now we ask the team, anyone that's an open mic, what do you think of that? How do you have the courage to just block off your time, whether you're working for someone or as an entrepreneur? Do you say this 8 hours I'm going to be doing this and no disturbance unless the building is burning or someone's dying? Miss Kim?
I saw Miss Grace say she's about to leave, so maybe she can take them first. I can speak after her.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Miss Grace.
Thank you so much. Yes, I have to run, but to answer your question, Paula, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier. For me, it absolutely, you cannot function without blocking your time. To me, I have to block time, otherwise, you know how I'm about my checklist, guys. They make
Yes, you don't check the boxes.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna get anything done, and you know, if I don't block off time for it. And really kind of prioritizing this days, I think as an entrepreneur, it has been even way more critical for me than even as an employee in the corporate world, because in corporate world you are provided with some sort of a structure, and then you would relate back to your superiors saying like, hey, this is what I really need to get done unless this is more important to you. And then you go back with your superiors on that and let them, you know, advise you on what is also, or if, not necessarily advise you, but let them know, right? And you kind of work that out with your team and superiors to make sure you're not dropping the ball and nobody's offended and things like that. And they also know what you are working on, that you are focused on something, that you're not ignoring them. So that communication in the corporate world is very important, and even in the entrepreneur world, I think is important as well. But for me, I have to block, otherwise I'll be very easily distracted. And sometimes we have to do two things at the same time. I was trying to drop some comments here while I was talking to you guys in our chat. I want to just say to our folks who are watching, continue having the conversation on this platform. This is a great conversation. I would love to invite everybody to give us your input, your experiences, and how you are really dealing with these kind of challenges. I look forward to reading some of these comments from you guys. So please drop comments and share this conversation uh, uh, with your platform and your people. And I think we all can get something out of this, and hopefully also find some guidelines as to how we can help ourselves to stay more on task and not lose that money, right? Stay on our task. Check those lists.
Excellent. That is
All right.
excellent, Miss Grace. Thank you so much. Have a most beautiful, and thank you for your contribution. It was enlightening.
You all too. Bye. Have
All
a
right.
great
Bye
one.
bye. All right. Bye bye.
Have a good one, Miss Grace. Bye.
And I'd like to follow up on that. She dropped some really wonderful gems, because I don't think a lot of us think about going to our bosses, to our superiors, and saying, this is the task I'm attempting to undertake. These are the distractions. What is the priority? If you're going to call me into the office or whomever, can you assist me you support me in blocking off this particular time and blocking off this particular time so I can accomplish this task? That's an option. And I think people should consider that option in terms of where they're working, when it is critical for them to do that. Are there, Ms. Kim, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Paula. And so for somebody like me, who every day has ideas and things that needs to be done, I can't be productive. I struggle to be productive without systems in place. So for me, the fundamental of me being able to focus on or get any work done, system. And of course, now I've gone a notch high with AI, presenting to as many more capabilities and ensuring that we can remain focused and productive. And also, so for me, it's just focusing priorities. It's not just for me, but also managing the team, which you find a lot of people really struggle with time management and focusing on a task. So I use that I use for delegating, and I also make it very clear, communicate effectively, and make the team understand. My way of working is I would look into every Saturday, my first job, it has to happen either Saturday or a Sunday. Did we tick all the boxes? Because the system, we use a project management system. That's not ticked. I will load more work in order of priority. And I will insist until week 1 is ticked off, you get to week 2. But then running a small business, sometimes priorities change. We might decide we're running this boot camp, then we get company A saying, yeah, but this is urgent. Can you come on the 20th and train my team? So mine is to see how I can manage, because also there are a lot of people who can't work with distractions. There's so many people that this is the assignment you gave me. Don't come and interrupt me, especially creatives. I think that's off with creatives. Don't give them so much work, you lose them. So I easily insist, I'll put it on Monday.com. The fact that I've put it there doesn't mean that it has to be done now. But let's ensure that it's done by Friday, 5 p.m. So you manage your work. And I find that effective as well, because I always look at this analogy of I'm sure you've all heard the story of the guy who was the ship broke down. Then he had somebody who wanted to give him an invoice for millions, and he was going to take his time and sort it out. Then another one came and cracked the ship. Within 5 minutes, 15 minutes, the ship was back off the shore and sailing. And so the owner said, I can't pay you 1 million for 15 minutes. You only took 15 minutes. He said, no, you're paying for the skills. So this is something that I try to apply within our workforce, that you have people that are tasks that can take 10 minutes, they'll take 3 days. For me, it is about productivity. We have people as well, especially creatives. I don't know for what reason they like waking up at night to work. So I don't care if the following day you take a day off, you tick your boxes. You're building a website. A website could normally take somebody 3 days, 1 week, but you know how to automate and use tools. You are able to build it within 3 hours. So you can take a break, can take a day off, or you can go to the next task. So now on making sure that people remain focused on the task, it is where consistently you make sure there are reminders on the platform, and especially when you're using a dashboard that blinks red, this is not done, and this is a priority, and this is urgent, and it needs to be done. And then constantly have those conversations, especially sometimes you're working with people remote. So you might have assigned a task, but people didn't get it with clarity that this is urgent for this, for us to move from point A to B and start invoicing. This has to be done. So can we give this priority and ensure it's done? And that is not just for the team, even for me as well. I have learned, which was not an easy thing for me to learn, to say no, because I'm easily excited. It will be come to my speaking engagement, come to this and that. Somebody will call you in the morning, late at night, and tell you, there's a walk tomorrow. Can you come for the walk? And you're going like,
Right.
you just told me there's a walk now, and I'm expected to come in the morning. I have plans for my Saturday, and I have other things to do.
Right.
So sometimes it's you also feel I want to go for the walk, I will enjoy it, but then you're looking at what about my other priorities? What will get affected if I do this? So I block my time. There are times that I have to intentionally say, I would love to do that, but no, thank you. And make sure that bite sizes, I ensure that I break task in small tasks. So whether it's a huge thing, we're building up a website that might take has 100 pages, but how can I make sure? I love rewarding myself. I love looking at what I was set to do for the week. It's done, and I think that's where we get a lot of self gratification, and we're able to carry on, no matter how hectic work life can be.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So let me regurgitate what I'm understanding and what I hear, because to me, when I'm hearing you speak, you're really speaking directly to leadership. So it isn't whether you have a small business or you're running a Fortune 500 company. What I heard you say was to be very intentional in prioritizing, setting time frames, and making clear expectations are for a particular task, and to prioritize those tasks, and to use project management software where applicable, right? Especially when you're including, when your team is varied and diverse and in different areas and doing different things. I think that's excellent for leadership, because I don't think leadership always considers what those who are following need to go through, especially leadership has not been intentionally transparent, clear, with clear directives, clear expected outcomes and objectives, and a timeline. And project management software does a great job of keeping people on task as long as there's accountability across the board. I know you use, well, I won't speak about the name of the company that you use for project management, but I think it's an excellent program and it applies. Thank you so much, Ms. Kim. Sister Yodit, what do you, as from your vantage point, you're a business owner. You're a business owner, so you're transitioning from a corporate setting into your own enterprise. How do you manage your time in terms of prioritizing what's needed to grow your business and to live your life? Is there a connect? Is there a disconnect? Are you having to learn new skills or think of things in a different way? Talk to us about that.
Thank you, Ms. Paula. Yes, of course, there's a lot that I'm very grateful for. Ways of working that I learned in the corporate setting that continue to help me today, you know. And in addition to that, I think one thing that's very important is to know yourself. You know who, you know the things that you're able to do and the things you are not able to do. So for example, for me, if I have to write something, um, and I remember there was an incident when I was asked, wasn't an incident, it was an occasion where I was asked to write something, to draft something for a report. And the request came late afternoon. And I said, no, I can't, because I know myself. I can't write in the afternoon. I think very clearly in the morning. So because it wasn't a rigid deadline, I was able to move it. But that's one thing I know about myself for sure now. I cannot sit down and write something that is worth reading in the afternoon. I can write, but it won't be good. I know that I write better in the morning. My mind is clearer in the morning. So when you know certain things about yourself, it makes it easier, especially now as an entrepreneur, because I can play with my time a little bit easier than when I was employed. So the one thing that I continue to do though is I make lists. I make a list of the things that I have to do every week. I make a list of the things that I would like to have completed by the end of the week. And then I also have my daily lists. So this allows me to prioritize what is it that's very critical, that I have to complete before the end of this week. And I do both, by the way, for my business, um, but also in my for my personal life. There's certain things that I have to get done for my family. So that is also a priority. And I actually list those things down. Um, to make sure that I tick both boxes. So knowing yourself is important because then you know when to schedule certain things. I have to write a report to submit to someone. I prioritize that for early morning tasks. The other thing that I feel is critical for myself is continued learning. I always have a course that I've signed up to do. And I also prioritize that for the morning because that's when my mind is clearer. I switch off as much as I possibly can. It was easier when I was employed, where I didn't take calls. I didn't look at my WhatsApp chat. But nowadays, I'm a little bit easier. You know, I will take calls. But if it's something that's critical that I have to get done, I put away my phone. I do not allow myself to get on social media, etc. So you have to be very disciplined about that. Otherwise, the distractions will cost you at the end of the day. So mine, pen and paper still apply as much as there are all kinds of things that you can use, you know, technology. I love the Google Calendar feature, for example, so I'm able to put it on my laptop, but I still take out my paper and pen to make sure that I write down the things that I need to do. So that, as a start, Ms. Paula, is one of the things that I prioritize. And then the second one is you have to be very clear on what is it that you're trying to accomplish? What is your vision? What are you trying to do for yourself? And the things that you've prioritized, are those things feeding that vision? Is it going to get you there? Or have you included things that have nothing to do with it? So you have to be very clear on what is it that you're looking to achieve by the end of the day, by the end of the week. But you also always have to keep at the back of your mind, what is my bigger vision here? Why is it that I have started Malada? Malada is the name of my company. What is it that it's trying to accomplish? And I'll be honest, there are days when it's a blur because there's so much going on. But if you build the discipline of going back to that, why did I start this company? What is it that I'm trying to achieve? And am I getting there? Are these things that I'm doing currently allowing me to achieve those objectives that I put together for Malada, my company? So those are a couple of the things, Miss Paula, that I'd like to stress in terms of what I think individuals should do, especially those who are running their own enterprises. You know, it's to be able to build in that discipline to not respond to every single request that you're getting. Are these requests that you're getting building the company that you have registered, the company that you are driving, the business objectives that you've set for yourself? Sometimes it's just a distraction. People will call you, they'll want something, but it's not going to serve you. So again, going back to some of the conversations that we've had here on this podcast about, the vision building. We spoke about the vision boards at some point. Those things become very important as you think about focusing and the lack of focus. If you've already got your vision very clearly outlined for yourself, it's very easy to go back and check yourself. Am I building this, or am I now building other things that I'm hoping will build my vision? So you need to know, and you need to prioritize based on what it is that you want to accomplish for the business that you have established. So let me stop there for a moment, and then, yes, any more questions, but have that conversation as well about what is it that we need to do for ourselves. Thank you, Ms. Paula.
Madam.
You're on mute, Ms. Paula.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I apologize. I'm just running my mouth. I was saying thank you, Sister Yodit, as usual. Very insightful in terms of the way you come at building this business. So let's just continue with that entrepreneurial lens, if we may. So we're in business, everyone's in business to make money. So focus, let's think of focus as billable capacity, right? Or billable man hours, right? Production hours. Those are billable hours, because there's no reason for you to be working to produce something if you don't intend to get paid for it. So let's look at focus as billable capacity. For instance, if you target, let's just say as a business, I commit to working 5 hours a day, right? 5 hours a day of high value work at $100 an hour, right? But I lose an hour every day to whatever, to avoidable switching, to interruptions, to anything. Once I allow myself to get distracted and I lose an hour every day, that's $500 I'm losing a month. I'm sorry, that's $500 I'm losing a week if I'm working 5 days a week. That amounts, or it's to $26,000 a year that is lost based on a lack of focus, right? That's considered lost opportunity costs. $25,000 in lost opportunity costs. It means that's money I could have made had I remained focused. But because I was losing an hour of focus every day, at the end of the year, I lost $26,000 that I could have had in my bank account. Now, is it relevant to a business, especially a small business owner? Absolutely, right? So the idea is to scale the rate, the goal to your particular situation, right? Hours, how many hours a day are you committed to work, or hours a week? How many of those hours are unproductive hours, less productive than they could be? And how does that equate into dollars and cents? Do the math. Mathematics doesn't lie. Addition, subtraction, it doesn't lie. And so this is a real challenge, whether you're a business owner and even in the corporate world. If you're working for someone, imagine you're working for a company and your lack of focus is causing them $26,000 a year in opportunity cost. How long do you think it'll be before you don't have a job? So it's relevant. It matters, right? It matters. Anything you'd like to add to this, Ms. Kim?
Yes, I would. Thank you. So I would really encourage people to leverage technology to enhance productivity. There are so many ways, there are so many tools right now that you can use that can keep you in check and automate processes so that we stop working hard, we work smart, and we also stop doing repetitive tasks. I mean, we like it or not. If we don't, we're competing. It's a global village. So we're right here competing with people in global north who are using tools. And this goes from students to people looking for jobs, to people creating their own jobs, and to people who are working. Speed, your boss wants efficiency and speed. Your boss wants results. Of course, I know their companies are very strict on what tools that you use, but those conversations you can have with your boss. As for us who are on the other side of doing our own business, it's critical we automate processes. It's also needs you to be very strategic about it, because it's not every tool out there that you need. And there are obviously some tools that can take so long just for you to integrate them or understand them. So when you're looking at how much do I need to get this task done, do I have enough time to automate this process? Because once you're done with that automation, or in most cases, depends on what you're automating, it's going to enhance your productivity. And it will leave you with a lot of your own time, where then you can have some quality time. Because it's important that we also learn to put a pause to all the noise that's out there. That's how we're able to take care of our mental health. So mine, obviously, I'm on a huge campaign to ensure that people use digital transformation. It's a thing. It's not just a hype. These are facts of life. We're transitioning, and the faster we embrace technology, use tools like Notion, you see how quickly Gamma does your presentation with. I saw somebody who has created a world-class website, and it was believed that actually this person created this website using Gamma, which it's one of the easiest tools to use, and so many others. So let's leverage that so that we can be able to have our time to focus. It is also very, very important that we work on tools that enable us to get that time, because what happens, sometimes we get caught up in the rat race. So obviously journaling, meditation, going for a walk, try to make sure that you have that me time. It is so okay to be bored. It's so okay to do mundane tasks, some silly little things that you're not engaging your brain. And I think this is where they say that most of our brilliant ideas are born in the shower, when it's just us and water. And we don't go there intentionally thinking we're focusing, but we focus. We cut off the clutter. And then, of course, having some time away from our phones. I think this is the biggest killer of phone. We can get into the habit of scrolling. We can get into the habit of some phone addiction, which kills our focus time and our quality of time. Thank you.
You're absolutely correct. And thank you so much, Ms. Kim. And that brings us to our episode. So we have two sponsors for today's show. We have Future Tech Ignite, which is a program that Ms. Kim is running. Ms. Kim, can you tell our audience about Future Tech Ignite and how they can get involved?
Thank you. And with Future Tech Ignite is where we're specifically working on how do you use tools so that you can learn to focus, improve your quality of life, and make money. So it's not just digital transformation, but it's digital transformation that comes with empowerment, economic empowerment. So we run boot camps where of course, we have boot camps for different ages. We have boot camps for children. We have for youth. We have for specific industries. Like right now, we have one upcoming for doctors, another one for lawyers, and then constantly we do boot camps for SME. So SME and anybody looking for a job, it's where we teach you, we have those conversations on what are your fundamental assets? What skills do you have that you can automate? How can we help you create your own? As we've seen it, it's not lack of jobs we have, it's lack of skills and skills mismatch. So if we can do a lot of upskilling our people and aligning the skills they need to improve on with the job market, they could, one, be better employees, especially when we package our projects with soft skills, or be better employers, alternatively, create our own jobs. It is very, very empowering for you to create your own, so many little things that sometimes we think, can this really give me an income? But it's, you focus on it, dedicate your time, polish your skills, come and learn. Let's learn together. We don't claim to have all the answers, but we claim to help you look for those solutions together. Of course, we use a lot of different tools that help us enable you enhance your productivity and make some money. Thank you.
Excellent. So can you please tell us when the next booth camp is going to be, and how can they reach you? How do they get in contact with you if they want to participate?
Thank you, Ms. Paula. It's actually exciting you ask that. I've always thought my civic education is very good, my geography. Till I had somebody from Papua New Guinea, and I
Nigini,
found myself asking, where is Papua New Guinea? I found
Oceania.
myself in a very embarrassing conversation.
It's in Oceania.
That's
Yes, I
amazing,
honestly I
though.
didn't know. I actually assumed that I mean I find it odd when there's a country that you don't know exactly what it is. And I found myself, oh, it's actually next to Tonga. That is such a faraway place. And we
Right.
have one of our clients that has booked from there. Quite exciting. Which, yes, all the way from Papua New Guinea. I even had to look into what do they do there? What happened next to New Zealand? So are they also cattle farmers? Because if you ask me, New Zealand is full of cows and milk.
They have a lot of natural resources too. Gold, for instance. But hey, we digress.
Yeah, trust my walking encyclopedia,
Yeah,
Miss
I
Paula.
love that. Miss Kim, I love that. Thank you so much for telling us about this program, about this offering that you have for SMEs. They should take advantage of it. It's one way for them to find out what kind of technology they can probably use for their businesses, for themselves, and for their development. The second sponsor for this week's show is OneStream. Miss Kim, OneStream is what we're using now to actually to stream live. So tell OneStream and how people can, begin to use the platform.
Thank you, Miss Paula. So OneStream has been very gracious to give us this platform that we're running our pod on, and we have another podcast that we run every Thursday with Miss Yodit. You very much are welcome, Miss Paula. It would be great to have you every Thursday. With a lot of inquiries we're getting, we're going to use OneStream Live as well to do a lot of our virtual training. We always use it, but now we're looking into customizing specific classes, master classes for people who want to learn more about digital transformation, which we focus on artificial intelligence, digital marketing, cybersecurity. Then, of course, cybersecurity, it's literally everybody has to learn something about it. Digital marketing, if your business is not online, you're not in business. AI, you can't afford to miss the wave. There's just so much to learn and to leverage from that. So we've seen, and the biggest take from this is the outcome we're seeing. It's like literally when we say we transformation in 7 days, it's literally sometimes in less than 7 days. In 2, 3 days, our students come back and say, look at what I created. I now have a website. Look at this app that I'm working on. Look at how I'm able to send my proposals. Look now, suddenly I have a presence online. We meet people who are in business, but they don't have any presence online. They're not on Facebook. They're not on LinkedIn or any platform. And this has been enabled by OneStream Live. So OneStream Live, thank you very much. We appreciate this partnership, and we are open to other partnerships with many other different nations. We have quite a number of them that are now expressing interest that would want to work with us. And it's collaboration. It's critical. It's important. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. And for those of you who aren't aware, you can stream on multiple platforms when using OneStream Live. So we thank OneStream, and we thank you all again for visiting, for coming and sitting and have conversation with us. Just know that we're not here to provide any legal advice, any kind of technical advice. These are conversations. Our podcast is really about sharing experiences and interspersing in there some statistics so that our audience understand that some of these ideas and concepts are things that are actually working in the real world in time, and that there's research taking place as well. So we appreciate you coming to spend the time with us. We're going to transition a little over into some of the evidence-based alignment fixes that you can implement today. We talked about blocking time, being very intentional about blocking time and prioritizing what needs to get done and block time for that, and not be afraid to speak to your boss, to your team, to ensure that everyone is on the same page and understanding that you're not available within specific time. Manage that. Don't be afraid to do that. The second thing is what they call communications. 2 to 3 times a day. Turn off non-critical notifications outside of those windows. Miss Yodit spoke to this, that when she was in the corporate world, and even now, when she has something critical that working on, she literally turns off her phone. How many of us are able to actually turn off our phone so that we can focus intently, intentionally on building whatever it is we're working on, so that we can increase our outcomes and our productivity level, right? So this is something you can do directly. The third thing is to tighten meeting hygiene. When they speak about meeting hygiene, oftentimes you get into meetings, and if it's a group of people that used to being together, there's conversations about the children, whatever. What the suggestion is to cut all of the fat out, to default to 25 to 50-minute slots directly, have a clear agenda, clear ownership on who's responsible for what, and to cancel by default if not a decision making or critical meeting. If it's a meeting that we have every Thursday, every Wednesday, or 3 times a week, and we don't need it this week, we can default to just canceling that meeting, right? It cuts work about work. It cuts out that whole working about work so that we can increase our production time. The fourth thing is to reduce app sprawl, consolidate tools. Miss Kim did a very, very good job in speaking about how tools integration, AI technology integration, a lot of those are apps. Well, sometimes you may not need all those apps, so you can consolidate the tools that you need and get rid of the tools that are not as productive or helping you be as productive, right? So that considers analysis, constant analysis. Chat GPT may be something you were using every day, and now you're down to using it maybe once or twice a week. I can't imagine it, but that may be the case for some people. Consider getting rid of or putting to sleep the apps that you're not using, so you don't have to spend time interacting with it that's going to dilute your focus. Miss Kim and Sister Yodit, is there anything else from your experiential background, or your experiential basket that you'd like to add to this? I love the idea, Miss Kim, of speaking to your boss, of having a conversation with your boss and with your team. Is there anything else either of you would like to add to this? The mic is open.
Thanks, Ms. Paula. Yes, there's one thing. Sorry. And that is both to entrepreneurs as well as those who are still working in corporate environments. And I believe Miss Kim mentioned it. I think Miss Kim or Miss Kim, I can't remember now, but you have to learn to say no. I think it's a huge, big thing. And I learned it over time. You have to learn to refuse. There are certain things that you don't have to do for many reasons. One, it's not going to serve you. Two, it's going to derail you completely. And then three, it goes back to the first one. It's not going to help to build whatever it is that you have decided to build for yourself. So the sooner you learn how to say no. So if you are in a corporate setting and you are requested to do something that is not part of what you've been hired to do, it's a nice to do, and it might get you a few favors with a few people, but it's not going to serve you. Say no. You have to learn to say no. And it's not something that's easy, but it's something that's important. As an entrepreneur, if you already have your hands full, in other words, you've got projects lined up, your teams are fully booked, but you get a call from somebody who maybe comes with a lot of money or comes with something that you feel you can't refuse. But taking that job means you're going to compromise a few things. The quality of what you're going to produce is going to compromise your reputation when it comes to perhaps your other clients. You have to say no. They may not like it at first, but they will learn to respect you because you're saying no because you are unable to give them what they want. And it's something very important. I feel it's something we have to even teach our children so that they don't compromise a lot of things, their quality of life, their mental health, and even future income opportunities or future opportunities to make an income. So that is a big one for me, Ms. Paula. It takes time. It's not an easy thing to do immediately, especially when you're firstly, or rather your first job, you're straight out of university, and or you're an entrepreneur and you're just starting out. sometimes you feel compelled to take on a lot more than you're able to do. So just be careful with that one and learn to say no. Thank you, Ms. Paula.
Thank you so much, Sister Yodit. Now we're gonna keep the floor open. We don't have. Do we have any questions? Anything in the chat, Miss Kim? I can't see the chat right now from where I'm at. But are there any questions, suggestions, audience interaction that we need to address?
Thank you for asking. I'm checking. Just give me a few minutes. Maybe you can tell us about the plans for Happiness Tribe, the launch of the book, the retreat. Well, at least I check. Thank you.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much. As you all know, we've been talking about it probably ad nauseum, but this is the book that we've written together is a compendium of the Happiness Tribe. A Blueprint to Happiness is the name of the book. And we've been going back and forth. This is our first attempt at a book. It's very interesting. I've learned so much. I'm still learning so much. So the book is in the editing phases, but you can just reach out to us. You can inbox us right on LinkedIn if you're interested in a copy of the book. The book it goes through the personal development phases. In order to develop professionally, we really have to look at our personal development. We have to be open to our own personal growth in order to be able to translate that to professional development. So the book talks about different things. It speaks about how you can use play and work, produce to grow. It speaks about it's about kindness. Sister Yodit, help me. What else does it talk about? Because it goes through a variety of things. Help me here.
Sure. Yes, you mentioned kindness, which is a good one. We have a chapter on gratitude. We have a chapter on the science of happiness, where we collate the research that's been done around what actually, what are the scientific components of happiness. Um, we've got a chapter on purpose and why purpose is important. Um, I think that's all I can remember at the moment, but we've got about seven chapters. Yeah. And we also have what you call it, a work, is it actually a workbook? But we've got some pages where you can actually now journal and work on different aspects of happiness for yourself. So it's quite exciting. And we've got a preface by a scientist as well. Yes.
Yes,
Thanks.
and that's so much, Sister Yodit. And yes, that's important because when we think of happiness, we usually think of happiness something subjective, but there is scientific proof and there's DNA now. For those of us, there are lots of us around who experience systematic depression, and we really don't understand. There's a fraction of those of us who are depressed. Medication doesn't work. The standard procedures, the standard solutions doesn't work. And Dr. Dunn, who's a scientist who realized that she was one of these people who had depression, severe depression, and realized that it was a gene thing, that her genes were turned off. Her happiness gene was turned off. Who knew there was a happiness gene? So these are some of the things that the book discusses and the things that are important because for those of us who are on this journey to fulfillment and happiness, it's important that we are in contact with ourselves, that we are in alignment with ourselves, and that we understand who we are, what our shortcomings are, and how to work on, eking out happiness for ourselves in our lives. So thank you much again for just coming and spending this time with us. Miss Kim, do we have anyone or any questions or concerns in the chat that we should be addressing?
I am only able to access from LinkedIn. We have Dr. Gladys with a lot of beautiful remarks. She says, "Well done, team. We've done a fantastic job." And she says, "Yes, we should catch the noise and we need to be mindful of how we use our smartphones." And then Ms. Grace says that, yes, the check boxes are very critical. They have to be there.
Excellent. The checkbox queen. I've learned a thing or two from Miss Grace. I've never been a checker. I'm starting to become a box checker now. Just checking off those priority areas. It's good guidance. It's good, like she says, it creates good structure for oneself when they're trying to make sure that they meet all of what it is they're trying to create. So that's an excellent thing. Is there anything else anyone would like to add to this discussion? We have a few minutes left.
Just one more thing for me, Miss Paula, something that I forgot, but it's important, and that is it's important for us as we tick those boxes to reflect. We need to find time on our calendars. If you can't do it daily, at least weekly, you need to look back on the week that was and think about what went well, what didn't go so well. And I believe we do this as a happiness tribe every Monday after the podcast. We talk about the podcast. What did we do right? What didn't we do right? What were our thoughts? So reflecting on the day that was, the week that was, is so important. And I know that most private companies do that as a matter of course after every event, after the production of something specific, because it allows you the time that you need to identify any issues that you need to consider for the future, anything that you need to improve, etc. And also things that went really well that you now want to ensure you do with every single project that you get. So reflecting is important, just as it is important in our personal lives. It's important to look back on what it is that you've done and have you ticked your personal boxes as well. And then the last one as well, and Miss Kim talked about this, is the reward. The rewarding that you do for yourself, for your team, and it doesn't always have to be about money. Rewarding can be about recognition, recognizing those who've done really well. And I love in some of the supermarkets here, Miss Paula, they will have employee of the week or employee of the month, and they'll actually have a picture of that person up. So let's not forget to do those things that seems very simple, but they have such an impact on people's mental health and their ability to want to be more productive. I think we started off talking about, focus and productivity. And one of the things that helps and enables productivity is how people feel about where they are, how they're being treated. Money is not always the answer. The answer sometimes lies in just the simple acts of kindness, that you show, consideration that you show towards your team members, etc. So just wanted to throw that in from me. And final thing from me is just to express my gratitude for Miss Paula. I can't see you anymore.
I don't know what happened. Oh, here I am. I'm still here.
I love that. I know that we're almost out of time, but I wanted to express my gratitude for the Happiness Tribe and to encourage everyone out there who is listening to us to find your tribe. I think one of the things, and finding your tribe could mean finding your community. Who are those people who help you on a day to day basis, on a weekly basis? To do better. And with the Happiness Tribe, I found that, I'm challenged there. I have a lot of aha moments where I have to go back and think about things and how I apply myself to certain situations. So if you are interested, please visit the Happiness Tribe. We do have a LinkedIn page. Come and see what we're about. I believe some of the previous podcasts that we have recorded are also available. We also have a YouTube channel, and see, maybe we can help you with some of the things that you're struggling with at the moment, or you're just a fantastically happy person and you want to contribute to this happiness tribe and what it is that we're trying to do for communities out there. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next week Sunday. Thank you, Miss Paula. Thank you, Miss Kim. Dr. Gladys, we missed you today. Miss Grace, it was nice to have you for the few minutes that you're with us. Bye bye.
thank thank you so much. Bye bye.
Just in closing,
How do I? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was about to say something. Go ahead, Miss Kim.
no, it's fine. I can. You can say your closing remarks, and then I'll do the final.
Okay. I just wanted to remind our audience today's podcast was really the lack of focus and how you lose money when you're not focused, whether you're in a business or you're working for someone else. Next week's podcast is going to be about isolation, the growth limiter, how we get so isolated in silos, whether we have our own businesses or we're working in a job in a corporate setting. We're going to be unpacking that next week. So please take some time out if you have the time to come and visit with us. Let's have this conversation. Let's learn a little bit from each other and let's keep on going. Thank you very much again for stopping by. You all have a beautiful day or a beautiful week, I should say.
Thank you, Ms. Paula, our resident strategist. And she did tell us about what she does.
Oh my God, it's too much. We don't have the time for that. But I'm a farmer. I'm a resilience farmer. And I'm a strategist, business, organizational development, individual development. I do executive coaching. I don't advertise to the chagrin of Miss Kim. I'm not on social media. I need to be. I believe in relationships. I long-term relationships with people, and I work within those relationships like I do inside of the Happiness Tribe. So if you would like a 30-minute free consultation about, a strategy, business and development, you can come through the Happiness Tribe to request that, and I can look at clearing the calendar and being able to facilitate that for any small business, any small medium term business that's looking for some assistance or some guidance. Thank you so much, Ms. M.
Thank you, Ms. Paula. Thank you, Yodi, Ms. Grace, Dr. Gladys in absence. But I see you're very active with our listeners and comment section, so we feel your spirit. And Mr. Selassie. And thank you, our listeners. The Happy Tribe exists because you do, and because you support you. Mine is a call to action. Let's build tools. And tools can even be something manual. You have to build in habits that will make you learn how to focus. And that goes back to take that walk, meditate, try to constantly have clarity within you, calm your mind, focus focus on one thing, finish that task before you get into another. When you think about the very super successful people, they have learned, they've mastered the art of focusing. And that is why some of them are not doing 50 businesses at the same time. They build three, four until those businesses are doing. And actually, quite often they'll build one until one gets its legs doing extremely well. They leave it to the staff to manage, then they launch another one. But as sometimes we want to be in 50 places at the same time, it doesn't work. We want to scroll on phone and still be in a workshop, it doesn't work. Like they say, multitasking is a myth. We can only do one thing at a time, do it extremely well. So we are in the business of transforming ourselves and breaking the chains and the shackles of poverty. And one of the things that we can do, should we do that, we get rid of that poverty, it's truly focus, clarity. We focus on one thing, we make sure we're so good at it before we move into the next one. And then we surround ourselves with people who are our accountability partners. When I say I'm going to do 10 things this week, and I tell my friends, and then we have one who loves to police me so nicely. I'm losing it.
One who will remain.
I know she's not talking about me, Ms. Paula. Is she?
I don't think so. We'll leave that alone.
It's not me.
But listen, can I just remind the audience that we're starting to do our community meetings every other Thursday? This one is coming up on the 2nd. It'll be the 2nd of September on Thursday. We have a Zoom live community meeting where we do a little couch time and we talk about what it is we're doing, what's going on, and just community and tribe business. So please don't hesitate to join us. All of you on LinkedIn that has followed or have been a part of the Happiness Tribe. Now we have an open forum to really have open discussions on Zoom, and it's the other Thursday. The next one is coming up on the 2nd. So please come visit us, come hang out with us, come tell us what's going on in the world, and share whatever valuable information you may have that you benefit from. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Kim.
And thank you, Miss Paula. I didn't mention anyone's name.
That part. Did you see my eyes? That part. I love it. I love it. But this is what being a part of a family is like. You always have the accountability police. What are you doing? Did you do it?
You know,
Did you con? I love it. It helps us to
but you know
grow.
what? We all need accountability partners. They do help
Absolutely.
us. We need mentors, we need accountability partners, we need to surround ourselves with the right people who tell, no, you're dripping, get back on course. It's
That
grand.
is right. That's right.
Yeah,
Get focused.
get focused. And getting focused,
Absolutely.
getting a job done, it doesn't mean that we're not saying like work 24/7. We're literally saying whatever you mean to do. Where sometimes we all have our struggles. I have weeks that I'm really struggling. And what I do, those are the days I tell myself, can I just do two things in a day? Just two things. I'll feel so good. I mean, it's normal, it's life. We have days that you're just not with it. But then get those boxes ticked. And I think consistency, we can see how consistency has helped us. We've been on this podcast for almost 3 years now. Those
Coming
are
up
Yes.
on
so
our
rewarding.
coming up, Miss Kim, coming up on our 100th episode, which is going to be a smasher.
Yes, well done, well done. Thank you, team. Thank you, our listeners, and enjoy the rest of the day, the rest of the evening, and the rest of the week. See you next time, same place, same time. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank
Mashallah.
you.
Bye
Ma-
bye.
Let me, I like this one. No, I like the sound effects of one stream.
and it's
No
not doing
sound
the
effects.
sub now.
It's not. Anyways, all right. Thank you. Have a
Okay.
wonderful evening.
You
Bye.
Thank
too.
you.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.